This lesson covers actions of the players in the back row. Back row play mainly consists of passes or digs. These contacts are judged using the ball handling guidelines of multiple contacts and caught or thrown balls. However, attacks out of the back row are increasingly becoming an offensive strategy for teams. Before we discuss the restrictions on back row players attacking the ball, let's start with a few definitions. By rule, an attack is any action, other than a block or serve, that directs a ball toward the opponent's playing space. Although we usually think of an attack as a one-armed swing at the ball, an attack can take many forms. An errant pass over the net or a set that drifts over the net also fit the definition of an attack. Any third team contact is automatically considered an attack since they have no more remaining opportunities to direct the ball to the opposing team's court. The attack is considered to have been completed when one of two things occurs. Either the attack completely crosses the vertical plane of the net, or the attack is legally contacted by the opponent. This is an important component to the rule, as an illegal attack cannot be called if one of those two things has not yet occurred. Front row players are allowed to attack the ball from anywhere on the court, provided the ball has not entirely passed into the opponent's playing space, either between the antennas or outside the antennas. Back row players are more restricted in where and how they are allowed to attack the ball. While behind the attack line, back row players may attack the ball from any position. However, while on or in front of the attack line, or having left the floor from on or in front of the attack line, a back row player may not complete an attack if, at the moment of contact, the ball was entirely above the height of the net. In the picture, the player about to contact the ball is a back row player. The referee has a number of judgments to make, which we will review on the next slide. Assuming a back row player makes a legal contact of the ball, that is, it's not a multiple contact or a caught or thrown ball, this graphic shows the decisions the referees must make in determining whether a back row tack was legal or illegal. First, the referees must determine whether the player, or the player's last point of contact with the floor if they are airborne, is on or in front of the attack line. If the player, or their last point of contact with the floor, is entirely behind the attack line, then the play is legal. If the R1 needs to display information to a coach or partner that the back row attack was legal, then the R1 may give an informational signal, without a whistle, indicating that the player was indeed entirely behind the line. If the player, or their last point of contact with the floor, is on or in front of the attack line, then the referee must make the next judgment. Is the ball entirely above the height of the net at the moment of contact? If the ball is not entirely above the height of the net at the moment of contact, then the play is legal. Again, if the R1 needs to display information to a coach or partner that an attack by a back row player on or in front of the attack line is legal, then the R1 may give an informational signal, without a whistle, indicating that the ball was not entirely above the height of the net. If the ball is entirely above the height of the net at the moment of contact, then there is an illegal back row attack in the making. However, the back row attack does not occur until the attack is completed, meaning it must completely cross the net or be legally contacted by the opponent. If the attack is never completed, then the play is still legal. For example, let's assume for a moment that the player in the picture is about to make the second team contact. If she took off on or in front of the line, and the ball is entirely above the height of the net when she makes contact, then the referee must still wait for the attack to be completed before whistling the fault. If the player hits the ball into the body of the net and it stays on her own side, then the attack has not been completed, and the team on the right still has one more contact remaining. Either player in the front row could feasibly make the third contact and send the ball over the net legally. If, however, the player hits the ball over the net and it either completely crosses into the other team's playing space, or if player number 7 on the left legally blocks the ball, then at that point the attack has been completed and the play has become illegal. Remember that a completed block is one where the blocker touches the ball. It does not matter where the ball goes after the blocker touches it. In this clip, back row player number 25 on the left attacks the ball. The referee must make the following decisions. Was the player's last point of contact on or in front of the attack line? Was the contact of the ball while the ball was entirely above the height of the net? Was the attack completed? In the replay, you can see that the player's foot is clearly on the line when she takes off. Although the camera angle makes it hard to tell whether the ball is entirely above the height of the net, in the referee's judgment, it was. The back row attack is called once the attack is complete by the ball entirely crossing the vertical plane of the net. In this clip, legal back row attacks occur on both sides of the net. For the team in white, the back row player is very obviously behind the line. For the team in blue, the back row player is very close to the line when she jumps. Had this rally continued and the coach of the white team questioned the legality of the back row attack, the referee could have given an informational signal to indicate that the player was indeed behind the line. No informational signal is needed for the legal back row attack by the team in white, as there is no question the player is behind the attack line. Because setters tend to take the second ball in front of the attack line, they are more likely to perform illegal back row attacks. The referees must be aware of the setter's position on the court in each rally. In this video, you'll see a back row setter on the right make the second team contact, but instead of setting a teammate, she sends the ball to the other team's side. In the referee's judgment, the contact of the ball happened when the ball was entirely above the height of the net, and the player is obviously in front of the attack line, so this is an illegal back row attack. In this video, the setter on the left, number 6, releases from the back row and runs toward the net to make the second team contact. His setting action turns into an attack when he sends the ball across the net. He is a back row player in front of the attack line, but you can see from the back line view that the ball is not entirely above the height of the net when he makes contact, so the back row attack is legal. Had the coach of the red team questioned the legality of the attack, the referee could have given an informational signal to show that the ball was not entirely above the height of the net. Although this is rarely encountered, it's worth mentioning that attacking a serve while the ball is entirely above the height of the net is illegal. The ball must drop below the height of the net before it can be sent back toward the other team. As in the case with illegal back row attacks, the attack must be completed before it should be whistled as a fault. The definition of a block has been covered in another module. With one particular exception, back row players don't typically find themselves at the net in a blocking position. The exception is the setter. Since the setter is frequently at the net making the second team contact, and sometimes must reach higher than the top of the net to make that contact, the setter can easily turn into a blocker under the right circumstances. A tight pass or an overpass that a back row setter tries to save can become a blocked ball if she is reaching above the height of the net and a player from the other side attacks or blocks it back into her. This is the most common instance of a back row block. In this clip, the setter on the left side of the net, number 21, releases from the back row to make the second team contact. The ball is overpassed to the other team. The setter, in trying to save the ball, reaches higher than the top of the net. The middle blocker on the right pushes the ball back into the setter's hands. The setter, who is close to the net, deflects the ball coming from the opponent while reaching higher than the top of the net at the moment of contact. Even if it wasn't the setter's intention to block, she now meets the definition of a blocker. Since she is a back row player who completed a block, this is an illegal back row block. Not every illegal block is so obvious. Watch this video and see if you can find the illegal block. Did you catch the illegal block? Here it is one more time. The player who hit out of the back row landed very near the net, and when the next play was made close to the net, he jumped to block the ball. He quickly backpedaled to return to his back row position. Both officials should be keenly aware of every player's position and who makes contact with the ball. This concludes the lesson on back row situations. Please mark this lesson complete and continue to the lesson on the libero. Thank you.